à tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain.
We're in southern France. We're at a recreation of the Grotte Chauvet. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site where they found some of the earliest cave paintings done by man. "36,000 years ago, what these cavemen were doing, making these cave paintings with sticks and ash and animal fat, that was really the cutting edge of communications technology at the time. And it's really mind-blowing to think that what we're doing now at Inmarsat is just a kind of a continuation of that technology. We're not rubbing ash and animal fat and painting on walls anymore, but the intent is the same. We are looking to communicate with people, to connect with people. I think these cave paintings really puts everything into context, where you kind of see where our place is in the human record and human history. And you can kind of see how grand it is, and that every generation is constantly pushing it forward.
So the European Aviation Network will bring something new, broadband connectivity to passengers in Europe.
That's the most amazing thing about this. You will feel 4G in a good signal, in a plane, in Europe, everywhere. And that is the ultimate goal of what we're trying to do.
This is very exciting for me because I come from a background of being in the mobile industry. So I've been talking about mobile everywhere. And honestly, the only place where you don't have mobile is in the air. I strongly believe it's going to change the life of the airline industry in Europe. I think it's going to change the life of all of us, me included, as a consumer.
So look, in-flight Wi-Fi is not as complicated as it might seem. Meet Bob. Bob's flying to Barcelona. He's on a plane and he's on his laptop. He's looking to find a room. So what does he do? He does what we all do. He goes onto Google, types in TripAdvisor, and that goes up to our little satellite, which is sitting up here in the sky. It bounces off the satellite, comes down here to what we call our Earth station or our ground station, and that then sends the signal through to the Meet Me point, which manages all the traffic. It goes along there to our ISP, and then it goes to the World Wide Web. And TripAdvisor dutifully serves him the page. It then comes back through the ISP, the meet me point, back up to the satellite and back down onto Bob's laptop. The thing about in-flight Wi-Fi, as opposed to normal Wi-Fi, is you're traveling at about 500 miles an hour, and there are going to be some occasions where it might be quicker to get a signal from the ground. And that's where with EAN we're very, very lucky, because with our system, as well as having our satellite, we've also got our ground towers, about 300 of them across Europe. And when he types TripAdvisor in, our system might actually send that signal through to the ground tower. It goes along to our meet me point in just the same way, through the ISP to the World Wide Web and back again and back up to Bob's laptop. So he gets the hotel room he's looking for.
I very vividly remember writing the first diagram of actually how it would look like. It was back in 2013. As it evolved, it was supposed to be an engineering task and ultimately ended up being, okay, we need to deliver this because the opportunity and the possibilities it provides is just fantastic. The challenge is to provide capacity, is to provide coverage that is unprecedented. And it's actually countered by the excitement that when you're launching this, you are truly delivering something that just doesn't exist. Every step of the way there was difficulty because you're trying to innovate. We had a goal and a mission that we're going to do a first flight with the CGC 4G system, and getting there was so hard. Every time we attempted the first thing, it never worked. It takes time to understand why.
We started this project with a concept almost 2 years ago, and that's brought us today to this very first flight trial. We very carefully simulated the system so to predict the performance, but today is the culmination of bringing that together and seeing what we've predicted through simulation is actually achieved in real life.
All of us carry devices. They don't work when you go in trains more than 400, 300 kilometers an hour. You have poor signal and it all falls apart. The challenge of this was to change that, to lift the 4G, look into the sky, fly at the speeds that an aircraft flies at, and make it work. That's been the most difficult part of this journey, but that's what science is about. That's what engineering is about. That's what revolution is about. But when we got there and when we flew, the performance was wow. What's the number? What's the magic number?
When ATCs turn off. Over 80. Over 80. Over 80.
Did I tell you? Then is the relief of all the work, and it comes down to, okay, it was all worth it. When this will be a reality, people will realize what potential it has. And that will then go completely global. And there is no more pride than if you worked on something from a piece of paper to actually bring something to life that could just transform the world around you.
Delivering EAN from the regulatory perspective is a major undertaking. European Union wants to have the most aviation vibrant experience in the world. It wants to enhance that competitiveness. Introducing a service that will allow everybody seamless experience of being digital on the ground, digital in the air, as a norm within your life, it is going to be a game changer. This is a European first. This is a European first for service. This is going to be a European first for the aviation industry. So the national licenses that we've been awarded, the operation rights to operate in different European countries, we've had to work with the regulators to make sure that we're delivering something which is workable, which is innovation friendly, which supports the investment, which encourages this new infrastructure build out, but which fits within their legacy framework. And when you're dealing with 28 countries and you have the European Union, as well as technical standards bodies, etc., you can see that the magnitude of that cannot be understated. It's a transformational service, it's a new thing, it's going to touch everybody's lives, and it's going to be soon.
I like to talk about the European Aviation Network as a European project, and it's obviously not only in the name is obvious, but this is a European project because it is only for European airlines and customers, and it's done by European companies. It's obviously Inmarsat, it's Deutsche Telekom, the two main partners, but we're working with contractors, subcontractors, suppliers that all come from Europe. So this is really done in Europe, for Europe, by Europe.
And satellite connectivity in aircraft has been around for quite a few years. But when it comes to the European market, you'll find this is actually the busiest airspace in the world. 22,500 aircraft, 500 million passengers every year. So we really needed a special solution in order to deliver that kind of user experience that was expected. So it was the obvious choice to work with Inmarsat as the world's leading satellite provider and combine that with the leading 4G technology and experience delivered by Deutsche Telekom. And all that together forms the European Aviation Network. I've seen this partnership grow from two companies working just next to each other to what for me now really has become a role model for collaboration.
As a European citizen, I'm particularly proud to be with Inmarsat and Deutsche Telekom to develop this project, because regulatory speaking, it's a big and huge work that has been performed by Inmarsat and all its partners. We help Deutsche Telekom, Nokia, Inmarsat to build this EN network.
What brings us together is a common objective, working with partners that are committed to this, but also each of them are giving their competence for a larger project. That's really what makes this, I think, a big industrial success.
Not here, and it's going to go out, and it's going to.
It's an achievement, and I'm quite proud of being from the start of this project and to see it flying and expanding, hopefully.
We're coming together as a high-performing team, delivering a world's first. And to be part of it really fills me with pride. This is a game changer for aviation in Europe.
The European Aviation Network is the world's first integrated satellite and the air-to-ground network. So the satellite itself covers the EU countries and also Norway and Switzerland. The mobile satellite service terminal is a terminal where you install on an aircraft that allows passenger traffic to be sent from the aircraft to the satellite and down from the satellite to the public internet. This terminal, when working with the air-to-ground network, provides seamless communication for the passengers. The EN system is developed by companies which are leaders in their respective field. So this will bring Europe to the forefront of global technology innovation.
There's a couple of things. The Inmarsat part, which is the S-band satellite, providing the coverage. And you combine this, adding bandwidth through a network of 300 LTE base stations across Europe.
The sites are the basement, like a pyramid. The better the sites, the better the coverage, and we have the know-how in getting the right sites at the right location, at the right budget.
This is a sign of success. Towers all across 28 European countries and Norway and Switzerland throughout Europe, and that means a mammoth effort to actually get them in place.
Due to our experience we have, it was easy for us to make the relations, to build them with the other towercos, make them understand what we need.
Now, LTE as a standard technology, in order for that to work for aviation, we've got to employ a couple of tricks. So first of all, we have to turn the coverage upward. So this is new, and probably for a mobile engineer, not something he does easily.
Big technical challenge is the compensation of the Doppler effect. And here we adapted the LTE technology to keep up the connection even at high speeds. The beauty of the European Aviation Network is that it shows how innovative technology helps to connect people everywhere, now also in the sky.
One of the big challenges in aviation connectivity, of course, is scalability. Do you think back to 2007 when the iPhone was originally launched? In that 10-year period, the amount of bandwidth that's required by those devices has grown exponentially. Any kind of a system that we set up has to have the capability to expand massively. So we have the S-band satellite, but we also have the ground network. Now we have two ways of increasing bandwidth and increasing the level of capacity. The first we call sectorization. Within each of these towers, currently, as you can see, we have only 3 antennae. Very, very simply, we can add another 3 antennae to each and every one of our nearly 300 towers across Europe. That will grow bandwidth and capacity exponentially. The second thing we can do, of course, is we can add more towers, and particularly around big hubs, those areas where there are a lot of aircraft and need lots and lots of demand, we can increase the capacity both in terms of sectorization, but also with more towers.
The spacecraft is actually half built here in Cannes, and then the other half is built in Toulouse. And they shipped the part from Toulouse over to the Cannes site, and they actually made it, they put it together. And after that, they go through a very extensive testing regimen where we test the spacecraft in what we call a thermal vacuum chamber. This is this huge room where they pump out all of the air, and then they cycle the spacecraft through extreme temperatures, extreme hot, extreme cold, repeatedly to make sure that everything still works. It's to simulate the harsh environment of space as well. Then we also want to simulate the launch environment. So when the spacecraft is in the rocket is very loud and shaking very rapidly. So we put the spacecraft on a vibration pad, and we vibrate the spacecraft as well to simulate the launch environment. We blast the spacecraft with sound waves, and after we've stressed the spacecraft out through all of these different means, then we have to test it to make sure that nothing's broken at the end. It's absolutely critical to do all of this stuff because after we launch it, we will never be able to touch the spacecraft again. It's too far away. You can't send astronauts, can't send repairmen out there to fix it. So either we shake out all the problems here on the ground, or they might cause us a lot of problems in space. It's been a long journey. There's been a lot of things that we've had to overcome. It's a huge feeling of accomplishment to know that something that literally came from just an idea now is turned into an actual spacecraft that's going into space, that's actually going to be used to basically improve everyone's lives. I would be responsible for supervising and witnessing the entire transportation sequence. I don't actually pick up the spacecraft and put it on the truck. I'll leave it that to Thales. The spacecraft is the size of a large bus and is going into a container that's even bigger, and then that all has to fit on top of a truck. The be a police escort, there'll be a very large convoy that will take us to the airport.
It looks like we're stuck.
There's cars that are parked right in the middle lane. It would effectively block the progress of the spacecraft container.
Ok, si vous pouvez vous tourner.
We made it. Now the satellite still has to make it to the aircraft, so I think the hard part is not making it through Cannes, but we still have to get it aboard the aircraft and then get it on its way to South America. It takes an entire army of people. Thales, Inmarsat, we have Arianespace, Helisat. All of these people have to come together in order to make this happen. And to be part of this chain, part of this team, to put it up, it's very, very humbling. The end product is to connect human beings, essentially, to connect people, to be able to talk with anyone across the world at all times. That is very, very amazing.
At Inmarsat we have two control centres. We have one looking after the spacecraft themselves, the Satellite Control Centre, and we have the Network Operations Centre where we're looking after the various networks that Inmarsat is operating currently. EAN is an interesting spacecraft in that it has two payloads on it. It's called a Condosat and is shared with our partner Helisat, who will be operating another payload on the satellite. And it's a cost-effective way of getting a high-quality service quickly to our customer. The satellite's sat out at geostationary, which is 36,000 kilometres away from the Earth. Space is actually a dynamic environment. We have solar effects from the sun, we have cosmic rays, which are charged particles passing through the whole of space. And also we have objects, we have other satellites that are active up in orbit, and we have to make sure we stay in our correct location. And then we'll have also bits of debris, bits of old spacecraft or rockets which are up at that location. We have to make sure that we still stay well clear of. Once a satellite's in orbit, we have to look after it. We have to make sure it's in its correct orbital location. We have to make sure all the subsystems on the satellite are working correctly. And each satellite sends us data every second. And all that data comes to our control centre, is processed here, and is available to our satellite controllers and our engineering team. So we can make sure the satellite is performing as expected and is in the correct location. And our aim is to make sure that the satellite is performing 100%, the payload is always available, and we try and maximise as much life from the satellite as possible.
This is a 24/7, 365 days a year operation. The user experience is essentially what drives our job. We're kind of victim of our own success. We set the bar so high that that bar has become the norm. People and users expect more and more from our services. The seamless transition from a ground-based network to a satellite network is something that people expect to work. From an end-user perspective, operating a satellite terminal should be not too dissimilar from operating a router that you have at home. That simplicity to the end-user side translates inevitably in complexity within our network. So the network is complex, the systems are very complicated, so the technology challenge is about being able to use that technology with minimum disruption to service. We are the best in satellite operations and network operations. Deutsche Telekom is the best supplier for terrestrial network operations. So I think it was the right thing to do, to have a partnership together rather than going in isolation, trying to break in new grounds where there is already a solution available.
Why are we here? Why are we in this sort of lost and abandoned part of the world? It's because for launches that have to reach a geostationary orbit, the closer you are to the equator, the more effective you are, because what launch vehicles do, they take advantage of the Earth's rotation. The French were lucky enough to have this piece of land in South America, which obviously at the time they acquired it, no one ever thought about space and launch vehicles, but in that sense it's ideally placed. French Guiana actually has a number of other advantages that other launch sites roughly in the same latitudes don't have. It's very peaceful from a hurricane, tornado, earthquake perspective. And then since we launch eastward, we have just the ocean in front of us, so in terms of safety of goods and people, in case something goes wrong, it's a very safe place to be. It's important to point out that even though this is French territory and the French have been instrumental in getting the Ariane system going, in reality Ariane is a European success. So this is really a European adventure and very hopefully a European success.
So now we're at the launch site in Kourou in French Guiana, 3,000 miles away from our control centre in London. We're 24 hours away from the launch of the EAN satellite.
So this is the control room, the main control room. That's fantastic. Look at that. There are going to be 150 people down there, every one of them an absolute expert at what they do. And if anything is outside of the tolerances that it needs to be, the rocket doesn't go.
We are going to be following the activities closely on the launch campaign, and in parallel we have a team in Cannes with Thales who are getting ready to take control of the spacecraft after separation. I've always wanted to go to a launch. It's a special event. You can sense the excitement building amongst all the teams for the next 24 hours. We went to visit the final assembly building where we saw the rocket ready for launch. It was then pulled out very slowly by a truck. It's a pretty amazing sight to see. It's a huge beast of a rocket being pulled by a very small lorry.
We are here on what I can easily say is the day that I've been waiting for the last 4 years. Put it simply, it's been a long journey for this day to happen, and we're here to launch our Inmarsat S-band satellite that will provide aviation connectivity. It's bang on the day that we want it. It looks beautiful. It's going to go. Everything looks fine, and it's nerve-wracking, but it's very fascinating at the same time. it'll be difficult to control emotions as I proceed through different stages of the day. Only a few people came here. There's a whole contingent of people waiting at Inmarsat City Road, just waiting for this to happen. I can't explain how excited I am and how fascinated I am that we got here after 4 years. So it's wonderful. We just had a briefing from all the key seniors, from all the partners who made this happen, and then it's really a wait to get to the time when we fill up our rockets with fuel, we get them all ready, and a final good to go for basically a launch today. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to shut my eyes. Let me know when it's gone.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Train à H0 moins 7 minutes, suite au rouge, ensemble de lancement.
You can see we have a red.
Okay, there you heard the announcement from the DDO. We have stopped the count at the 7-minute mark. We do not fly until everything is in order.
They're sitting in the control center in the Jupiter room and going through each and every detail, and we're waiting nervously and anxiously here then when the clock is actually going to tick from 7 minutes countdown, holding their breath. Okay, come on, come on, come on. It's kind of that feeling at this point of time.
We are all green right now.
Seconds.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain.
Come on. I took a piece of paper and we drafted what it would look like in 2013, and my God, the feeling of being here and actually achieving that, I just cannot explain.
Come on! Go! Go! Go!
It's just an emotional roller coaster, and it's rock and roll at this point of time. We don't lease capacity from anyone. It is our network. It is we control. That is the only way you manage customer experience to the core, because you own every element of the chain. That's how this is innovative, and that's how it is new, which has not been attempted before.
It has been a long journey, and a lot of people brought their heart, you know, their soul, and I feel so exciting now to see that it's coming to life. I followed this project for many years now, since the very beginning of it. Even before working for Inmarsat, I used to work for Thales Alenia Space, who manufactured the S-band spacecraft. I feel very passionate now to be within Inmarsat and to have the possibility to sell capacity of this great network to the airlines. Being part of the project for many years, I realized how hard it is to make it come to life. You need a lot of people bringing a lot of passion, energy in everything you do, because you have so many hard things to get through. And I think really Inmarsat was so successful to get done all these challenges. I see where we are now. We are going to launch the service. This hybrid solution is really innovative and bringing a lot of value and benefits to the airline. It's capable of very good latency, not just capacity for capacity, really capacity that you can bring wherever it is needed. a unique solution really tailored for a very specific European sky. For the airline, lightweight, compact equipment is very key, because when I visit them and I show them how small and lightweight our equipment is, I can see the smile on their face. The telecom companies are investing billions to move from 4G to 5G. All this is going to benefit the European aviation network, which means even more bandwidth for the airlines. Everything is possible with connectivity, and whatever you do, business, leisure, the EN system is really going to revolutionize the passenger's experience. I feel really exciting to know that we are entering into a phase where we are equipping the aircraft with this equipment. I feel also very proud to be part of this adventure.